Remember, there's some pretty important information here in the disclaimer. You might want to give the video a quick pause and read it.
Hello my friends, this is Wake Angel 2001 coming at you with the second part of Jayden's commission. It is Gwimbly, beloved video game mascot parody from Smiling Friends. Now, Gwimbly is one of those characters that, when it was introduced, sort of blew up the internet, because he kind of tapped on a nostalgic nerve that is surprisingly rarely used. Alright, so people know that I'm going to be turning 39 next month, so I'm relatively old. When I was a child, video games used sprites. You know, I grew up in the 16-bit generation, like the tail end of the 8-bit and the heyday of the 16-bit. So, you know, like Sonic the Hedgehog and all your other Genesis and Super Nintendo games, that's going to be my nostalgic childhood. And, but, you know, like, if I was just a few years younger, like, into the mid to late 90s, that would be the heyday of the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation, where we got those low-poly 3D games ruling the world. And that's kind of where Gwimbly stands. And when you think about it, most pop culture references to gaming culture, they either go back into the sprite era, or they stick with the modern era with, like, the high-fidelity 3D models and stuff. Like, you almost never really see people referring to this particular era of the evolution of video games, except as a reference to, haha, didn't that suck? You know, like it's the red-headed middle child, like the one that just never really quite fit in as well. You know, cause, yeah, you know, like it was the beginnings of 3D. It's literally a transitional phase in video game evolution. But it was its own era, and there are plenty of children who are super nostalgic for it, and whom Gwimbly was a really nice breath of fresh air. Which is probably why Jayden commissioned me for him. So yeah, everybody get out your cans of cream corns, make sure your Gwimbly gun is cocked, cause we're gonna be making this character into an action figure. So the base figure is Hank Hill. This is the Loyal Subjects Hank Hill figure, which I bought a long time ago at Five Below, because he just seemed like he could be a good custom base, but looks really weird as Hank Hill. I mean, the chibi stylings of Loyal Subjects are partly to blame, but he looks really gangly and lanky like this. Like, his arms is really long and his torso is small. He kind of looks weird for Hank Hill. But coincidentally enough, this was the perfect body proportions for Gwimbly now, wasn't it? So yeah, this is another one of those block of wood I kept in the garage for 10 years, only to realize it would be perfect for this project I'm working on things. Okay, so, the Hank Hill figure dismantles pretty easily, right down to the torso and joints. I would discard the head, because I would be 3D printing that a bit later. But let's get on to the parts that are hand sculpted, namely Gwimbly's little tail. I'm not sure what Gwimbly is supposed to be. I think that's kind of the point. He's just your generic animal mascot doesn't really look like the animal that he's supposed to be. You know, kind of like how Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't actually really look like a hedgehog, but I digress. And then I sculpted over Hank's belly bulge with Gwimbly's belly bulge. Although I would use the fold in Hank's original body buck to act as the line where his shirt would be. And the collar is craft foam so that I could keep sharper detail. Gwimbly's color scheme is a mix of a jaundiced skin tone. Like, it's mostly a skin tone, but with a slight hints of yellow, with a slightly more pale yellow for the rest of his body. And of course, his shirt is black with those purple and blue detailings on it. Not really sure what they were supposed to be. They're just kind of random shapes in the low poly model because, you know, technically speaking, we only ever really saw his low poly model. I'm sure if we actually got to see, like, box art showing his, what his video game looked like, we would have had a better view of what this was supposed to be, but, hey, you know, we're pretty much working basically on this. Now, Gwimbly does have a 3D model. It was created on Sketchfab by some guy named Fireplace2, and of course refined into a printable form by my guy, Corey Sonic Fan. Although, as you can see, the print did not work out very well. Like, I got his lower jaw pretty good, and his teeth and lip fine, but the nose and eyes were just so badly borked. Fortunately, that was something that I could fix with a little bit of hand sculpting to create that fun little hook nose thing that he has going on, and refine his eye stalks. And oh yes, the two halves of his face, like, this was printed as one piece, but the upper jaw just kind of fell off as soon as I got it off the support medium. But that's fine, I was able to stick it back on and give him his, proper paint job. I think there was like a brown shading effect on the lower half of his jaw. I think this is supposed to imply 5 o'clock shadow, but realized to like a low poly, those low resolution textures that original PlayStation games used to use. Like, I'm gonna go with that. Once all this was done, I made his little Gwimbly hat. It's a piece of craft foam with a small amount of sculpt on the back of his head. And, yeah, that was the head. Drill a hole in the bottom of this and stick it onto the torso, and you got yourself a Gwimbly. Now, I forgot to mention the mods I made to the feet, because at first I thought, like, just a little bit of sculpting around the wrists and ankles. No one's really going to care about that. But if you look at his left foot, you will see the part where I sculpted his shoe in a way to show the hole in the front with his toes poking through. Don't think I missed that detail just because it's little. And, yeah, that is our action figure of Gwimbly. Gwimbly is your stand-in for all of our abandoned video game mascots from this era. He's Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, the Sackboys, Ratchet and Clank. Honestly, I can't think of any mascots iconic from Microsoft, because I never really had an Xbox as a teenager, and I can't really think of any iconic Xbox mascots that, succeeded. Because that's the point. Gwimbly is supposed to be a character that was like a big, successful character that had a multi-game franchise and defined a lot of children's childhoods, but now he's out of work and desperately trying to make ends meet by, shooting cameos on his smartphone and sleeping in alleys. He's just a little bit of forgotten nostalgia. I wouldn't really count characters like, say, Glover or Gex. Maybe Gex, but, just characters that, a character that was in, like, one game and then, like, we never saw them again. That's not really what Gwimbly is supposed to be. Gwimbly is supposed to be, like, a big part of everyone's childhood that just kind of slipped through the cracks of history. But, what Gwimbly represents is the love and innocence that we all have of our old gaming days, and that's just fine. So remember, folks, I'm Gwimbly, and I sell propane and propane accessories. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh, hey everybody, it's me, Sonic the Hedgehog. Just here to remind you that if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. And for even more amazing customs, don't forget to subscribe to Wake Angel 2001. Because between you and me, they're way past cool.